it's a curriculum that goes beyond the history of the white man. So really considering, history from, looking at gender history, looking at it, history from a wide range of races and ethnicity, sexual orientation, a curriculum where kind of everybody feels welcome and feels that they are represented and part of, and can kind of see themselves in the future, from what they've learned, they can kind of see themselves contributing to history in the future, just giving, a wide range of voices rather than the same white, male, wealthy kind of voices that there have been in history in the past. For history, it's not as simple as just adding some extra content onto the extra year. You have to kind of rethink your whole curriculum because, you need the coherence, you need to make sure you're teaching it. Well, we teach it chronologically, and that's very important for us. So we joined a few historical association webinars. They were really useful, and it got us thinking about what are our priorities, what kind of themes, what content do we want to cover, what do we want to achieve by the end of the 3 years, in terms of what knowledge of the world do our students, if they don't carry on with GCSE history, what knowledge of the world do they need to understand the world that they're living in? And that has changed, even from then, with things like Brexit and this pandemic and things like that. So we used a lot of our time in the first lockdown to kind of rewrite our entire curriculum and the schemes of work. And then obviously what happened last June happened with the Black Lives Matter movement. And we were really pleased actually, because we'd already planned change. And because we have a significant number of Black girls in our school, we'd already discussed embedding more Black history into our scheme of work. So that event kind of confirmed for me what we were doing was the right thing to do, and gave us a huge number of resources to tap into, from webinars that Toby Green was doing to other people's webinars, books that were being published, and returned in September with a whole new Key Stage 3. We focused initially on including more women's history and embedding more women's history throughout our Key Stage 3 and Black British history. But we're very aware that the job isn't done. And we've got plans next year to really focus on LGBTQ plus history, and we want some Asian history in our schemes of work. But we kind of reached the point in September where it was like, right, we've just got to go with this. We've got to teach it, see how it goes, see how do we find resources, how do our students feel about it, parents, etc., and then kind of review it at the end of this year and build on it and make it better next year. So we're not by any means finished, but we're definitely on the right path. The students are loving it. History is a very popular subject at my school. I've got an NQT and an RQT in the department this year, and I don't teach year 7 and 8, I teach year 9 upwards, and a lot of our changes kind of happened in, it really affected the year 8 curriculum, and they're always contacting me saying, oh, I'm absolutely loving teaching this inquiry. Oh, I never thought, I didn't really know anything. We've just done an inquiry on, well, I haven't, but they have, on the Biafran War. And they were like, I knew nothing about this before. I've really had to do my research, but it's so important. And the girls have really enjoyed it. And the feedback from parents has been really positive. I'm really lucky, and I have to say that I work with a fantastic team of history teachers who have embraced change, who have embraced the idea of change, have embraced topics that, like I said, that they knew nothing about before, and they're having to do reading, and then they're having to really think about their teaching. And there have been times when, in year 7, they're ticking along quite nicely with the Norman Conquest and it's all familiar. But then at the same time in year 8, they're then having to teach aspects of history that I think that, the biggest challenge, we've had quite a few challenges with year 8 really, but really thinking about how we teach the transatlantic slave trade, so that we are not just falling into the traps of how it's been taught before, but really giving the enslaved Africans, that sense of agency, not just in terms of the activities in the lesson, but also the language that we use, the terminology we use on our resources. I think the main challenge for us has been teaching some very emotional topics, and having to really think about, as I said earlier, really think about kind of terminology we use, the language we use, how do we teach that to the students, what words do we put on the screen. And in that respect, the challenge has really been two things, really. Our knowledge of what terminology is acceptable, isn't acceptable. Take a risk. Just go for it. If you've got an idea, sit down, discuss it, lean on your team, your school, potentially the wider history community via Twitter, but take a risk and kind of see it through, because you've got that desire to teach something for a reason. Something I'd add to that perhaps I didn't mention is trust your team to write the schemes of work. It is a big job, but as a subject leader, you don't have to do it all. And I haven't written all of our schemes of work. My RQT at the moment, she wrote most of them. I did some of the more trickier ones. And then I've got an NQT who's writing some at the moment as well. But yeah, involve your team in the process. And then at the end, when they look back and they're really proud of what they've achieved, it's kind of a real team effort and a real group sense of achievement.